a special production of the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Welcome to Tough Enough, a recap and breakdown show from the MMA Outsiders following every episode of The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, Team McGregor versus Team Chandler. And now, here are your hosts, Tom Albano and Zain Bando.
Well, just me this week. And it's probably going to be just me for the rest of the tough season. So, sorry to all of Zain's fans. I'm Tom Albano. Welcome to episode number 7 of the MMA Outsiders. Yes, there is going to be a reason, but we'll go over that. There's a chance and may not be with us for Tough Enough going forward. Still going to be part of the MMA Outsiders. Still got all that, but yeah, unfortunately, Zain's not here this week with us. And I don't know what's going to happen with Tough Enough at this point, but I am here. Might as well just talk. I mean, you know what? The show sucks. I mean, in terms of the competition sucks because it's a one-sided pony race between McGregor's team that is full of prospects, but is 0-7 against all the veteran talent that is on Michael Chandler. I don't know. At this point, I don't know if it's Conor. I don't know if it's just the fact that the prospects versus veterans format is just utter you-know-what. But other than that, kind of appropriate. It's like this show now and what's going on the actual show is just, it's coinciding now. It's perfect. All right. I'm Tom Bando. Make sure to follow the show across social media. Obviously, since it's a live stream of the MMA Outsiders, it's going across all social media, our YouTube channel, as well as the Facebook for the Empty the Bench Podcast Network and the Twitter of the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, as well as the MMA Outsiders and Empty the Bench Sports. So make sure to follow the show across social media at ETB Sports. At MMA Outsiders ETB. Make sure to follow the other accounts that the show is streaming to at ETB Network, at ETB Sports. If you're watching us on Facebook, Twitter, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to share, give a follow, all that. And make sure if you're watching on YouTube, our home, make sure to like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here on the Empty the Bench Network. Every edition of Tough Enough, every edition of the MMA Outsiders, every edition of ETB Sports, Fruity Cereal, so much more. Again, I'm Tom Albano, contributor over at Fansided MMA Outsiders co-host, contributor to PFL, every PFL event for the rest of the 2023 season. And yeah, everything is just absolutely, oh, there's Dan there. Yeah, this show is brutal to watch. It's honestly, like, I appreciate the fact that it gives us the platform now to just, talk about the Ultimate Fighter and what this season has been. But I would not be lying to you if I did not say that this season has been one of the biggest letdowns. And again, I don't know at this point if it's just a matter of that the prospects versus veterans format just has not gelled in the way that the UFC has wanted it to, or if it's because Conor McGregor and his team's coaching, and the coaching is just, even if you don't want to say bad, it's incomparable to the job that Michael Chandler and his team have done with the veterans. I don't know if it's a matter of that the veterans have that extra fire in them, that they've been cut from the UFC before and they want that second chance. But I mean, if you didn't watch the show already, I'll give you 10 seconds, but you could obviously tell probably by the way I'm acting what happened on the show. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Team McGregor is now one fight away from being completely swept. And I honestly think that's the story here. Like, we could talk about the fights, and yes, we'll talk about the backstories, the fight, I'll do all that, but let's just be really honest here. The story right now is Team McGregor is one fight away from being swept, which would be historic. No season of The Ultimate Fighter has ever had a coach be swept. And yet, here we are. So let's just get into everything that happened. So obviously, we got our two fighters here. We got Jason Knight and Landon Quinones. Jason Knight has been in the UFC prior, was released, and Knight telling the backstory of his upbringing and such. Has competed in the UFC, Titan FC, done bare knuckle boxing. Uh, he actually competed in the PFL as well. I wear my PFL shirt today with a sense of pride in knowing that Francis Ngannou, Tyson Fury, now signed, sealed, and delivered. Uh, Zain says it's because of Conor being toxic. This week was no different. And honestly, yeah, it's just a show about him at this point. I'm at this point where I'm just gonna say it's a show about Conor McGregor. It's a show about Conor McGregor, as it's this comeback platform, which you already, if you were weeks ago, listen to my prediction on a McGregor Chandler, if that fight is going to happen in December, which people are still, and Dana White and Connor and even Chandler are still hopeful for. Chandler's finishing him. Chandler, this season is just going to end like that, isn't it? Team Chandler's going to get the sweep. Chandler's going to finish Connor. It's just the direction that we're going in at right now. It's unbelievable. As I was saying about Jason Knight, though, competed in the UFC between 2015 and 2017, ended up with a record of about, I think, 4-5. Yeah, 4-5. Uh, was a featherweight champ in Atlas fights. Did he? Yeah, no, he didn't compete on the Ultimate Fighter, but his first fight actually took place on the Ultimate Fighter finale card in 2015, which is kind of neat, kind of a little bit of a full circle kind of moment. And now he gets an opportunity to get back into the UFC with the Ultimate Fighter, but telling his backstory about growing up, he's a country boy down in Mississippi, had an arrest for larceny for theft, and talked about missing the he talked about missing the first steps, first word of his daughter, and basically how that motivated him into wanting to turn his life around. And dare I say, he did turn his life around through MMA. It's just one of the cool things about the sport, about the second chance that it offers to guys like Jason Knight, who need to rebuild their life in a way. And then, of course, you got Landon Quinones, who prospect on the rise. Landon Quinones was somebody I had my eye on. He was announced for the TUF season. I think, yeah, I had my eye early on him as a potential pick for the lightweight scene. Of course, that has not played out in the way that he wanted to, and well, nothing has played out in the way anything a Team McGregor has wanted to. Uh, the story had this episode had a couple of interesting hits though. So, that might have been a really bad transition. But Landon Quinones actually got blasted in the body by a Conor McGregor kick, and Quinones went down a little bit of a heap as he was hit into the body. It was a toe kick or something like that to the body. Hold on one sec. Sorry, guys. All right. A little kick to the body, and that basically took the breath out of him. Connor told him to fight right through, and he was able to fight through it and basically said, "Oh, I learned more from that round than any of the other rounds I had ever thought." In which, interesting way to look at it. I mean, I can kind of buy it. At the same time, I just, I don't know what you really get out of a training session with Conor McGregor at the rate that you go and at the rate that everything is going with. Because, like I said, it feels more like we're part of it. Yeah, you have Conor working with the guys, which is great. At the same time, and I can't even go into Conor not being there anymore because I don't know if you guys saw an interview that my editor at Advanced MMA, Emmy Kaplan, did with Aaron McKenzie, but basically McKenzie trying to paint the picture of, that the cameras were not there all the time, and so we didn't get to see all that. So Conor was never there for the morning sessions, but he was usually there for the evening sessions. And we do get to see, in all fairness, McGregor working with the guys, and yet it feels more like, yeah, that's being used as a platform for the Conor McGregor comeback, which always seems inevitable. Uh, so there was that for Landon Canotas. But the first thing that really popped out was Jason Knight, because Michael Chandler is demonstrating something, and then you hear a bleep, like a curse go off in the background, and you're wondering what the heck that is, and it's Jason Knight, and apparently he and another fighter, I think it was Timur Valiev, clashed heads, and there was a cut on one of the eyebrows. I'm pointing to my left eyebrow, but obviously that's my right when we do the whole mirror thing, so it exactly was on this one. Uh, and Landon Quinones, and Jason Knight, on the cut on him, it wasn't so much a matter of, they were describing, it wasn't so much it was deep, but it was pretty long. Like, it could have gone deeper, it could have been worse, but it was a pretty long cut. Fortunately, they were able to close the wound, close the gash, but the doctor warned to just be careful. But, yeah, you saw Chandler kind of, try to motivate him a little bit. Hey, you could go into that tough house, make sure that Landon sees the cut, but then basically say, like, make it seem like you're not going to fight, but then go on him. Hey, I just saw the doctor. I'm still gonna bleep and fight you. I like that about Chandler. That was actually kind of funny. What wasn't funny was this. So Cody Gibson, he won his fight early in the first round earlier this season. However, his leg was bothering him from that fight, and the pain did not seem to subside. They go see the doctor, and apparently the doctor he used the term tear and sprain so interchangeably. Let's see. Do you think it could have been stopped given how crazy this season has been? I'm not surprised anymore. What do you mean? Could it have been stopped? Uh, like if Jason Knight wasn't going to be allowed to fight Zain? I need that kind of clarification. Anyways, about Cody Gibson, the tear and the tear and sprain terms were used interchangeably. Grade 2 injury to the MCL, and the doctor basically said under normal circumstances, this would require 8. Obviously, I mean 8 weeks for a full heal. Obviously, they don't have that time during the taping. Specifically as the cut, yes. If they would have pulled Jason Knight from the match, I don't know. I think there was a chance, and it seemed like that was gonna be that way. It did seem like, in fairness to Zan, it was gonna be that way because they show the cut and they go to commercial. So they do that whole thing of, oh crap, is it actually gonna be? Is this fight actually gonna go down? And it's like, what is gonna happen here? Like, is this actually going to? Is this? Are they going to commercial because now all of a sudden Jason Knight's gonna be out and they need a replacement? I am glad that Jason Knight was able to fight, though. Cody Gibson, the fact that it's a grade 2 MCL sprain or tear, and he needs 8 weeks for a full recovery, I credit him for wanting to continue. I don't know if it's the smartest thing, and not in that, oh, it's gonna get worse and he should just be coward and ball out. I don't know. I think it might come back to haunt him. Like, I'm worried in his semifinal fight is that, like, it's gonna affect him no matter what. I'm just worried if he continues to train during the fight. At some point, I'm worried, is this injury gonna come back and bite him? That's my fear. That's my only fear about this. But anyways, Cody says he's gonna continue on. We'll go to Cody when we see him. But let's talk about the fight itself. Yeah, Jason Knight won. It was quick too. So Jason Knight took control early, got some good shots off. Landon did a decent job in fighting back. They battled for control, battled in the clinch near the cage. Landon was able to get a takedown, which was all good. And then Jason Knight, like I was in the middle of sending messages. I took a minute down to look down to just quickly send a message. All of a sudden, I look up and the fight is over. And at first, when I went to rewind and see what had happened, at first I didn't see a tap. I was very confused, and then I realized because I saw Jason Knight put his legs around, going for an arm bar or some sort of arm triangle, but I didn't see a tap from Landon. I didn't think it was in all the way, but somehow it was in all the way. Somehow it locked in good, and Jason Knight got him good. It was so quick, I didn't even notice. Props to him. Like that's part of why I'm wondering about the veteran versus prospect thing, because that's a clean, cool veteran move by Jason Knight. And Jason Knight's gonna move on. Team McGregor is one fight away from being swept. And I don't know what else I can really say about all this, because it's kind of embarrassing. It's kind of ridiculous at this point, where Conor McGregor's team is just going to keep having it like this. And I can't fault everybody on McGregor's team because they're prospects. They're still growing. They're taking on guys with UFC experience. But it's up to Conor McGregor. It's up to him and his team to bring these guys to that next level to make them competitive. Some of these fights have been competitive, without a doubt. But you would think they'd win one fight. You'd think they'd win one fight. Conor went over to the cage side with Dana and asked, so what happens if Rico loses next week? It's like, and Dana couldn't give him an answer. Dana could not give him an answer because he said in all 30 of the past 30 seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, this has never happened. It's and the fact that he is even asking that, yeah, it is an embarrassment. Hold on, I want Zain's comment right here. That's not Conor like. That right there. Look at that comment there from Zain. It's not Conor like to do this. Like, let's wait for the situation to happen. Let's wait for it to happen where there's an 0-8. Because again, it's never happened before. But it almost seems like he's leaving Rico out to just try. I'll bring the fight up anyways. It's gonna be Hunter Reserve versus Rico Diciulo. But it's like he's leaving Rico out to try. It almost seems like, and maybe it's because Hunter Reserve is the top ranked. And Hunter Reserve is a top ranked fighter. Oh, sorry. Hang on. It's be bantamweight. My mistake. Top ranked bantamweight in the season. The problem you have with maybe Hunter okay, I'll be honest. Yeah, I'm picking Hunter Reserve to win. I was going to pick Hunter Reserve to win. Hunter Reserve is another one I've had my eye on with this tournament with TUF. At the same time, some of this needs to fall on McGregor. Some of this needs to fall on McGregor. He and his team just can't get anything done. And it's an embarrassment. It's an honest to God embarrassing kind of performance that McGregor and his team are putting in there. Well, I should say that team McGregor, the McGregor's coaching staff is putting in there. Because they should be winning a fight. They honestly should. And I'm at the point now, like if Conor himself wants to ask, well, what happens if Rico loses next week? Let me top that question then. It definitely won't go to a decision given the promo for next week. Yeah, well, we'll get to the promo for next week. Okay, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it now. The next episode, it seems like we see more of McGregor and Chandler yelling at one another, and McGregor's voice is a lot louder than it was during their altercation last week. A lot louder. So here's what I'm saying. He's going to lose this fight. Rico is going to lose this fight. Hunter Azure is going to finish Rico Diciulo. And you know what? Just because I'm in an effort mood, First round finish. First round. I'd say even the first 3 or 4 minutes. And that's also because I really like Hunter for sure. I mean, come on. His 2 losses in the UFC. One is to Brian Kelleher. Actually, did he lose 2 or 3 times? Actually, no, he did lose 2 times. One was to Brian Kelleher, and the other was to Jack Shore. Those aren't bad losses. Those are scrappers. Those are two hard-nosed competitors. Hunter's winning this fight. So if Conor's going to ask that, then let me ask this. If Rico loses next week and Team McGregor becomes the first team in Ultimate Fighter history to lose every single first-round fight, and then Conor McGregor makes the fight happen with Michael Chandler in December and loses, gets stopped, or even in a worst-case scenario, the fight doesn't happen. Or maybe in a third wild, put my tinfoil hat on kind of scenario, he wins, and then he gets the USADA exemption, he wins, and then gets a la Brock Lesnar UFC 200 pops. That one's more tinfoil hat, but I only say that because of the USADA exemption thing that they're trying to get. But let's face it. Let's say he loses and gets finished. At that point, if you have a tough season with an 0-8, like you become the first coach in TUF history to lose all of your first round matchups, and then after the here's my thing. Dana White even said, before I even go on to what my take is, Dana White said, or the producer told Dana White, well, we could see who wants to jump over. Did you see how the prospects were yelling at, like, especially Roosevelt Roberts, were yelling at McGregor? Who who is even gonna wanna who's gonna wanna be with him? I shouldn't say that. Some of them have talked about if they have the opportunity to be with McGregor, they would do so. But to just force somebody, to just force people to Team McGregor after me McGregor goes 0-8, who's gonna want that, really? And I'll give you this. If Team McGregor at this point, let me just go to my take. If Team McGregor loses all his first round fights, if Rico loses next week, and Conor McGregor loses to Chandler, Conor McGregor will be the most damaged goods that he has ever been. Even if you think he was damaged goods after the Floyd fight, or after the Khabib fight, or after one of the Tristan fights, if he gets swept, historical bad performance on top, and then loses the coaches fight, it's time to hang it up. It's time. Seriously. And I want to see the ratings for this also by the end of this season. Because the ratings started good and then it just is this what we're going to expect? I'm actually curious right now. I'm kind of curious because, okay, The Ultimate Fighter Season 31, the debut episode was 294,000 viewers. Which actually is kind of a little underwhelming in itself, but you know what? All right, 294,000. I mean, TV ratings, all that aren't that they are. Who's watching on ESPN Plus, which I don't necessarily would get if you're watching, if it's available to you on ESPN, the network. Actually, Zain makes a point. Zain brings up a question. With the MLB All-Star game tonight, which is the reason Tough Enough here got delayed tonight, is that going to affect it? I think it could. I mean, the season's already one-sided enough. So next episode, there's going to be some sort of altercation, and man, it's must win at this point. It's must win for Rico. But I'll be honest, I don't think he will. I think Hunter's winning this fight, first round finish. We're going to get the historical sweep. And then I'm just gonna spend all of next week's Tough Enough laughing at just the kind of performance there. All right, that's gonna do it for this edition of Tough Enough. I should make note tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. When I say tomorrow, I know it's past midnight now on the East Coast, but I mean Wednesday the 12th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Zain and I will go live to discuss today's official announcement of Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou. We'll have a lot to talk about there. Most likely, due to this live stream, it's due to all the UFC 290 stuff we did this past week and the fact that, well, no disrespect to UFC London, but I don't want to disrespect UFC London and not do a preview for them, but considering we have a really lackluster card this coming weekend, uh, and we have a whole mega bunch of fights coming July 29th, I think it's best for Outsiders. We're going to take a chill week next week and not do an episode. But we will see you guys there tomorrow, Wednesday the 12th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, where Zan and I will discuss the Fury and Ngannou news that came today. So we'll see you there. This has been another edition of Tough Enough. Again, make sure to hit like, make sure to follow, subscribe, no matter where you are, what social media platform this goes to. If you're watching us on our YouTube home, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified here of everything at the network. Make sure to follow us across social media, the MMA Outsiders, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, MMA Outsiders, Empty the Bench Podcast Network, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Network. Even ETB Sports, I'll shout out them for streaming also at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Again, on Tom Albano, contributor to Fansided MMA, contributor to the PFL regular season for their to the PFL for their website during the season, and now with the playoffs coming up with the playoffs. And you can follow me on Twitter at Thomas J. Albano. And that's pretty much going to do it for the MMA Outside, for Tough Enough, a special limited series of the MMA Outsiders. We are over halfway through this tough season now, about a month or so left. So, I mean, the season's a rough one in terms of the competition, but we'll get to the end. And we'll see who comes out on top. I'm still interested to see who comes out on top in this tough season. So there's that. But on Albano, see you guys next time. Take care.